Welcome to Peoria Connection. Fall is in full swing. There's so much going on around the Peoria Unified School District. Today, we're highlighting our state robotics champions from Cactus High School. We'll learn a little bit more about the role of an assistant principal on our Peoria Unified campuses. We'll also take a sneak peek at the Thanksgiving lunches being served up in our cafeterias and get an inside look at a brand new preschool opening at GCC. All that and more coming up next. Well, this is one of our favorite segments here on Peoria Connection, and we are talking about the Thanksgiving lunch happening in a cafeteria near you all across the Peoria Unified School District this November. I am joined by Sandra, and she is our Food and Nutrition Director with the Peoria School District. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And look what we have here. One of my favorites. I'm getting excited and hungry just looking at it. But the Thanksgiving lunch, talk to us a little bit about this long-standing tradition that we have here in the Peoria School District.
This is probably our favorite meal of the year. Kids look forward to it all year. Staff looks forward to it. Our parents. Everyone just gets very excited to have the Thanksgiving meal.
And we have food here that looks very different than what we serve every other day of the year because it's traditional Thanksgiving. But is this a special day for service in food nutrition, or does all of this actually still meet the guidelines that we are expected to follow as a school district?
All of the meals still meets the guidelines. We're still offering the fruits, the vegetables. It meets all the grain, whole grain requirements. So everything's being met by it. It's just something a little different that we don't normally put on our menu. Instead of pizza and nuggets, something different and exciting for the kids.
So this roll looks delicious. So I have to talk a little bit about that. And you and I were talking actually just before this, and I'm like, well, where's the butter? You're saying it doesn't even need the butter. It's that tasty.
This is a whole grain roll that they have actually proofed and baked that day, and it doesn't need butter at all. If anyone that's not actually tried it, they should try it. It's actually very delicious.
And of course, can't help but right in the center there, our pumpkin pie. And is this kind of out of a prepackaged kind of set thing that we get at the store for all of our schools?
This is something that the week before this meal, the managers and the cafeteria staff are working very hard because all the pies are made from scratch.
Wow.
So they are very busy getting ready for this day, planning a lot of things so that people can come in and really enjoy something special that they may not get at home, or they just want it twice.
Well, I know in my house you don't get a fresh baked pie even on Thanksgiving. I mean, that's even still store-bought. So to get a homemade pie for our kids, that is pretty special.
Sometimes the parent groups volunteer, or if just a parent wants to volunteer, they can get in touch with their local cafeteria manager and they can get the information.
Just the way Thanksgiving should be, right? The more the merrier.
Yes.
So that really is exciting. Well, thank you so much for being here, Sandra, and for sharing this. I know it is a tradition at all of our schools here in our district, and just know how much we appreciate the hard work that goes into making this happen at 42 campuses across the district. So thank you very much, and pass that on to your team as well.
I will do that, and I look forward to seeing you in the cafeteria on that day.
I look forward to being there and sampling at a number of our schools. So thank you.
Okay.
To our community, you can learn more about our Thanksgiving lunch, including get all of the nutritional information directly off our website at peoriaunified.org.
Cactus Robotics, or Team 498, has been around since the year 2000. Their hard work has paid off and they have won many competitions in the past few years.
They have been to countless competitions and have placed high in most of them. For example, in 2016, they qualified for the World Championship.
In 2015, the robotics team built the Coyote. This robot was able to stack 6 totes on top of each other.
It helped the team bring home 2 semifinalists and get them 4th place in the AIA Robotics State Championship.
Our school has made many robots for competitions, including Little Shredder in 2016. The robot was made to break down defenses and won our school our first regional win, which allowed us to go to the World Championship.
In 2017, the robot built was called Spicy Devil. This robot was able to climb a rope in 3 seconds at the end of each match. The robot qualified us to go to the championship in Houston, Texas.
In 2018, our robot's name was Killscreen 2.0. This robot can easily manipulate power cubes and got us into the semifinalist league in the Arizona West Regional.
In 2019, our robot was named Category 5. This robot won us the Arizona West Regional, the first championship in Houston of the Galileo subdivision, and got us 4th in the Einstein Field Championship.
Finally, this year our team has already placed first in the state championship and is soon moving on to nationals.
The team consists of mechanical mentors, programmers, strategy mentors, and electrical mentors. Did you know that when the team first started, they only had 4 members?
Yeah, that must have been hard because this year there are 30 students on the team. Each of them has a unique job that helps the team out.
The team consists of many members and also includes 13 mentors that guide the newer recruits and help them get better at their job.
Thank you to everyone who showed up to tell their story throughout robotics. Now let's watch a video of one of their competitions this year.
My own petard, that was brutal.
All right, we've got a green light and a thumbs up from our head ref, so I'm going to cut off this ridiculous conversation and get this match started in 3, 2, 1, embark.
Mark, indeed. And it's no surprise to these drivers that their robots have all scored points in the sandstorm period. If we're looking for action right near this blue rocket is the play, 649 and 1072. Now, not to go too far into the strats, it was interesting to see that they didn't back up. If they were to back up and hit him again, they probably could have knocked him off course like they're doing now. Having a level 3 and a level 2 climb, Red Alliance needs to catch up. Hopefully they'll use the remaining 10 seconds of the match to do so. Going to the Blue Alliance by 6 points, 58 to 52. Blue will be taking home a Haberdocking ranking point. Let's hear about that match from the Robo Sports Network.
Well, I am so pleased to have 2 of Peoria Unified's finest leaders joining us here in the studio for Peoria Connection today. Welcome to Tanya Navy and also to Stephen. And I'm so pleased to have both of you with us, joining us all the way from our school furthest in the north there, Tanya,
Yes.
Pleasant Elementary, and just down the street here, Oasis. So thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Well, glad to have you. And I know for our community and those who might be watching, people hear a lot when they talk about schools about the principal of the school. Kind of seems to get all this attention as kind of the celebrity there on campus. But I think a lot of people in our community don't realize the critical role that assistant principals play in our schools. And so I'm wondering maybe you can start, Stephen, just tell us a little bit, what is the role of an assistant principal?
I think assistant principals do whatever's needed in that given situation. It could be something as simple as ensuring the safety of students on their way home, coaching a teacher on being the very best possible instructionally that they can be for their students, or ensuring our students with specific needs get the resources they need to be successful every single day. If there's one thing I can say, it is never the same way 2 days in a row.
No 2 days alike. Maybe you can walk us through a little bit, Tanya, what would a typical day be like? I mean, what time do you hit the ground running and kind of how long do you go into the evening sometimes?
I think it's a loaded question. It very much depends on the day and the needs of the campus. I mean, when you're thinking about it, every site you have about 100 adults, could be up to 1,000 kids, all of their parents, so there's always something. I think whatever happens or is planned on my agenda morphs throughout the day, but typically I get to campus at around 7:15. We will have meetings in the morning. It can be a parent concern, an IEP for special education students, or a 504. That's usually how our mornings start. And then we have a big agenda of things that we need to accomplish that are focused around student learning, instruction, data, all of that sort of thing. But then stuff pops up. And so you have to handle it. You have to be very agile. You have to be flexible. You have to adapt to it. there's a lot of needs on the campus, and so we're very busy people. And I think our number one job is to make sure that our mission and vision that we plan with our principal comes to fruition. And so that can look like a lot of different things on any given day.
Well, a lot of times I know you're really working as a team, a leadership team on your campus. So you're working right alongside the principal. Talk a little bit about the role that you play in the safety of the campus.
Absolutely. I think on a given basis or on a given day, there's so many different things that we think about in terms of safety. It could be, like I said earlier, the logistics of a student getting home, but it could also be a student in crisis or a family in crisis and needing to be able to support them and getting them the resources that they need to be able to be successful, not just here at school, but every single day, all the time. So it's helping that principal be able to make sure all the students have the things they need every day.
Wow. And I think community engagement, plays a role. And I know the two of your campuses are pretty strong in that area. So you're probably pretty lucky that you have that support, from parents and from your community. Maybe talk a little bit, Tanya, the teachers that are considering going into administration. So maybe those who are watching that maybe haven't even considered that as a pathway for them. What do you think are some of the things that really stand out that enable you to do your job well, or really are strengths of someone moving in to serve as an assistant principal?
I think, and Steve and I have actually had this conversation a lot, I think the key thing for me is knowing that my job is really a job of serving, right? So I have to know that I need to be that person for everybody, and I have to meet people where their needs are. Even going through college and through trainings I still didn't know what the job really entailed until you're on the job, So I think that get in there. You need to be instructionally sound. You need to be putting students first always. That just has to be your philosophy. And then I think that you just need to be ready. You have to be a person that is ready to mold yourself to whatever the situation is. And it is a very careful balance, and you have to have a lot of common sense and knowing that you're a reach, that you want it to spread beyond just your classroom. I love being in the classroom. I was in the classroom for 10 years. I have a great relationship still with some of the kids that I had, but it's kind of cool to be able to see how you can reach an entire community. And so it's very fun. It takes a lot out of a person. So you have to be kind of strong-willed in a lot of areas, but it is a great gig. You have to mentor. You got to be able to get in there, look for opportunities to see if that's something that fits your personality and something that you could do wholeheartedly.
Wow. It's a fine fit, I think, for both of you. Truly two of our finest. So thank you so much for joining me, for shedding a little bit of light onto the great work that you're all doing to support the kids across our district. Great to have you.
Thank you.
In the summer of 2018, Peoria Unified School District received some communication from Glendale Community College saying that their Child Development Center was empty and wanting to know if we would be interested in partnering with them to run the Child Development Center.
This partnership has been pretty awesome for the preschool because we've gotten the chance to work with a lot of the new workforce that's coming up through the college. So all the interns that have been coming in and all the people that attend GCC now all know that Peoria does have preschool program and we have a toddler program now.
Our success rate has been serving students and serving the community. We have a wonderful preschool here on campus that we have approximately 12 children that are attending the preschool. Our toddler side, we have 2 toddlers, so we do have open enrollment at this time. The teachers on campus here that are in the classroom are actual GCC graduates. So I like to say that they actually have been my students. They have graduated from the program of early childhood education, and now that they are actually working for Peoria Unified School District. One of the great advantages of this partnership with Glendale Community College are the interns that are coming into the program. We have students who are in the early childhood program at Glendale Community College who come into the toddler and preschool rooms. So my students that are going into early childhood education sees the lab here on campus as an added benefit to prepare them to become workforce ready and to see best practices when it comes to early childhood education.
And what color is this? Orange. Good job. Are you ready to go wash your hands, honey? Is it your favorite one? What shape is this? It smells lemony. I smell lemons. Can we all go to circle? Quiet feet. Quiet feet. Tiptoes. Over to circle.
Currently, all preschool programs in Peoria School District are voluntarily enrolled in Quality First. We currently have 1 3-star center, 8 4-star centers, and 8 5-star centers. There are 10 in the region, and we hold 8 of those 5-star programs.
Parents are very happy. We have several staff members and instructors that are bringing their children here, and they've seen the growth, they've seen how their child is thriving, and they're seeing the collaboration with the teachers that are working together with their children.
We've had lots of positive feedback. We've had families say their children love to come to school each day, but their previous place they didn't necessarily like it as much. What I want to make sure everybody knows is that preschool really does hit on the whole child, so everything from their motor development to their cognitive development and their emotional development. So it's an all-encompassing type program to help everybody learn.
If parents are interested in registering for preschool or toddler programs, they can reach out to the preschool registration office at Skyview Elementary School. The number is 623-773-6675. We do still have some availability.
That's all from this edition of Peoria Connection, our partnership in education with the City of Peoria. Until next time, we leave you with scenes from our fall field trip.
Welcome, everyone. President Ceja Martinez will not be joining us in person, but she will be on the phone this evening and will chime in. So I will be leading the meeting. So let's start with the 2.1, which is Pledge of Allegiance. We generally do the moment of silence first, but it was accidentally put to 3.2, so we will do that after. So if you can stand, we will be led this evening by Callista Openkar from Canyon Elementary.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to 3.1, address agenda and consider adoption or recommended changes. Does any board member need to change any item tonight?
I do.
Ms. Stone?
So, all right. Wanted to move 8.3 to what, 3.1, 3.2, whatever.
I guess it would, do you want it,
That's the numbers.
no, make that 8.1?
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Stone has to leave early this evening, so we're trying to work with the time.
I want to move it to 8.1, right ahead of.
It's
ahead of.
Kim, is that good for you? Okay.
All right, that works for me.
All right. Are you set? Okay, thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Does anybody else need to pull anything or rearrange? No, okay. All right, then let's go on to, now we're at 3.2, which is the moment of silence. So instead of standing, we can sit and just, I guess, just contemplate for a few seconds for a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, number 4.1, staff recognitions. Ms. Airy, welcome.
Good evening, Mrs. Pingarelli, members of the board, and guests who have joined us this evening. As you can see, our boardroom is pretty full this evening, and it's because we do have a number of very proud families that are here with us this evening, and certainly they all have something worthy of big celebration. As I believe many in our community know, AZ Merit is Arizona's measurement of educational readiness to inform teaching, and it's a test that is given to students from third grade to high school and tests students in the areas of reading, writing, and math. Tonight, we are thrilled to share that we have 14 remarkable students in our district who received the highest possible score on both the AZ Merit English Language Arts and the mathematics assessment portion of the AZ Merit test that they took last year. So we have invited them here so that we can take just a moment to celebrate them. And I know there are many that had some other commitments this evening, hopefully not too many that we lost with the weather and getting a little too wet out there tonight. But for those of you who joined us, we are just so proud of you, of your students who just did so remarkably well at our schools. So students, I am going to call your name, and when you hear me call your name, if you would stand. Once you are all standing, we're going to give you a big round of applause. And I know our board members may have some comments to share with all of you and to congratulate you. We have a great spot for a photo op out in our lobby. So afterward, don't worry. If you can stick around for a moment, we will want to take your picture, and we know the families in the room will want to capture this moment as well. So students, if you hear me call your name, if you would stand up so we can recognize you. Sabrina Apap from Estancia Elementary School. Ephraim Joel Esmus from Oasis Elementary. Mackenzie Frey from Oakwood Elementary. And I just can't help but note about Mackenzie, just for an extra moment, this is the third time she has had a perfect score. So that's pretty impressive. Hayden Harmon from Coyote Hills Elementary. And all from Frontier, Evan Jameson, Madison Roberts, and I believe a third student from Frontier Elementary as well. So big congratulations to Frontier. From Canyon Elementary, Callista Openkar. And from Peoria High School, Andrew Padilla. There were a few others that I don't believe were able to join us tonight, but of course, if you can look around the room at this group of students, certainly they are making us proud out in the community. I'm sure their parents are just beaming, and of course your principals, I know in your schools, are so proud of you. So congratulations, and what an incredible effort. Well done. You can have a seat. Families, if you haven't joined us in our boardroom before, you know we like to give you some of the credit for all of the support you give to these students and what you do at home to encourage them and to just really pour into them to make sure that they can be successful at school. Family members that support these students, can you stand so our board can recognize you? And I know I look around and I see some proud principals here as well. So to our principals, thank you for all that you do to encourage the kids on your campus and, of course, to continue to, inspire them to aim even higher. So thank you for being here tonight as well. Board members, I will turn it over to you in case you have any comments. I know there's an awful lot of them to be able to call up here, but if you want to speak broadly to them, and then when you're through, we'll, of course, make sure we get their photo.
Okay. Mrs. Underhill?
Well, thank you guys for coming out, and just congratulations. That's an amazing accomplishment. I know from having been in the classroom that those tests are hard. They really, test your critical thinking, your ability to apply all that you've learned. And it's not just about the test, it's about what you guys do every single day. So I know that those study habits that you have developed will continue to help you do that as you move forward. So congratulations. I also wanted to just point out, was it Andrew Padilla? Doing that in high school is an additional feat. So that's amazing. Congratulations on that. You have a very bright future, and I appreciate you being an inspiration to the rest of our high school students to keep on striving for that. Good job.
Mr. Sandoval.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, congratulations to all of you, and just for working hard every day to be the best versions of yourself. You should be proud of that. Congratulations to your parents, your family, all the teachers and staff, and certainly site admin, just for modeling, greatness, and certainly instilling, some of the discipline and great habits that Ms. Underhill just mentioned. She's right. Those habits and that discipline, is one of the soft skills that will definitely, you'll take with you, throughout, career and life. So hold on to that without question. So it is a pleasure to see each and every one of you here, Peoria's finest. And so you should be very proud of what you've done. Congratulations and thank you.
Mrs. Doan.
Well, I want to congratulate each and every one of you on an outstanding achievement. I hope that this is the kind of achievement you can continue to create for yourselves throughout your life and enjoy good success. And thank you for being here tonight and allowing us to share in this wonderful achievement you've accomplished. Thank you.
And President Cejar Martinez, are you on the line? Would you like to jump in?
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Pingarelli. I echo the comments of my fellow governing board, and congratulations to all of you. I look forward to hearing how we can continue to support your strategies with the rest of the students and school sites. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you. Well, I just want to echo my fellow board members. It's a tremendous feat that it seems like few are doing every year. So I just like to know what kind of study habits you guys have and how many hours you study. You're shaking your head. As much as you need, is that it? Well, it's a tremendous feat, and we really appreciate all of you, all of your families for coming out this evening. It's Arizona doesn't have too bad of a weather, but today is not great. So we appreciate everybody coming here and sharing your students with us, your children. Thank you very much. And I guess, Ms. Ari, you have, you want to take pictures, and you're all welcome to come back in, but I think this is the highlight of the evening, so I would go to dinner or go home and study.
Mrs. Pingarelli, I believe so. How about just one more big round of applause for these students? Just awesome. Awesome job. Well, students and families, we invite you, if you want to get a photo, right out here in our lobby is a great spot, and it's dry in here, so we'll get your photo snapped. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Pingarelli.
You're welcome. It's amazing. It is. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to 4.2, board recognitions. I guess we'll start with Mr. Sandoval. I'm sorry. No, we'll start with Mrs.
No, that's
Underhill.
okay. I can probably get through it.
I'm going to have to look at you first to see.
Sorry, I had a mitt in my mouth. So, yeah, thank you for that. So there's a couple recognitions that I definitely want to make sure that we talk about this evening. And one is certainly yesterday being National ESP, or Educational Support Professionals Day. I definitely want to recognize our ESPs here in PUSD. They always say it takes a village, and all those individuals who open up our schools and close them up for us every day and get our students to school, to and from school, and feed them a healthy meal each day are critical to their success. So I want to make sure we recognize those individuals this evening. On top of that, last week I had really the honor to attend Ironwood High School's academic awards. They recognized 328 students for their excellence in academics, and the energy that you saw, from the families that were in that gymnasium, and the proud faces, that you saw in our students, is always a affirmation of why we're here, as a district. So congratulations to Ironwood High School. Ms. Spirella, thank you, for all you do there at Ironwood, and all the teachers and staff there on site, for inspiring hope in all those kids, and putting them in a position to be successful. So Ironwood High School, congratulations.
Thank you. Ms. Stone?
I don't have anything tonight, thank you.
Ms. Underhill?
I have a couple things. I wanted to give a shout out to Country Meadows, and specifically teacher Sarah Tacolvi. I'm sorry if I mess up the last name. They put on an amazing family science night a week ago or so. I think they had nearly 400 people there, participants and volunteers, and many, many partners, including Maricopa County and the city of Peoria, many of whom brought out information about, environmental science and lots of critters and animals and fun things like that, as well as some robotics information. So it was just fabulous. The families were having a great time, and just really appreciate the effort of Sarah and her team in making that happen, because those are the kind of things that really bring our community out and really get kids engaged and excited about education. So I wanted to put that out there. And secondly, I was able to attend the Met Academy's second quarterly advisory committee meeting, and they're doing amazing things. They had their students talk about the mentorships that they're currently involved in. They have partnerships and mentors with various university partners, with corporations. I mean, it's amazing what they're doing. But they also need some help, and they could use some volunteers. They have some different events, including a patient care scenario coming up December 11th. So if you want to be a fake patient and go get diagnosed and help these kids learn, they could use some volunteers. So anyway, just contact the Met and they can hook you up with that. But again, amazing place. If you haven't been there, try to visit. Thanks.
Thank you. President Sejar Martinez?
Yes, thank you very much. I just have a couple of things as well. First, thank you to my fellow board members. A couple of times recently I have been able to be in person, and all of you have been able to work through the ambiguity, especially with our big task of superintendent search. Thank you, everybody, for supporting those efforts. I did have the opportunity to attend and visit two schools, Peoria High School and Raymond S. Palace, specifically the student government. We really dove into the conversation of inclusion. Mr. Bow was part of that conversation. Mr. Vining was part of that conversation. And I really value the students bringing into discomfort and sharing their experiences. They have a true understanding of ownership when creating a safe space and inclusion. Two things I want to highlight. They focused on continued efforts on opening their doors to the community and what they have to offer, as well as highlighting their class budgets when they start to plan for events and things to improve the school. We did touch base on finance, and it's great to hear that they're looking at balancing their own budget. So kudos to all of them.
Thank you very much.
That's all I have.
Okay. I do not have anything this evening.
Ms. Spingarelli, I apologize.
No.
Ms. Lewis,
Sandoval.
I couldn't see you behind this gentleman who's sitting right, in between us. No, you're fine, sir. But I apologize. But thank you as well, for all you did. I know this was something that you spearheaded, if I'm not mistaken, for Ironwood. So, I really appreciate for your mindset and being mindful of really how important it is, to celebrate those successes. So thank you for that.
All right. Then let's move on to 5.1, request to address the governing board regarding matters not included on the agenda. I have one green slip this evening. It is for Bob Gonzalo. Welcome.
Members of the board, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Bob Gonzalo. I've taught in the district or coached in the district for over 40 years. I'm going to talk about porta potties, porta johns. And I know you got a letter from me, and I think this is disgusting. And we played at Peoria at Cactus High School 3 weeks ago, and on the visitor side, there are no restrooms. And our parents went over to the other side, and my wife and another coach's wife were told, your restrooms are on that side, which meant they had to go to the porta johns. 4 years ago, when Dysart High School played football at Cactus High School, 4 Hispanic parents went to the other side to go to the regular restrooms, and they were told, no, your restrooms are over there. Now, that could be conceived as a racist thing if you get that. And those parents thought it was racist. Now, I don't think, and any woman on this panel right here tonight would like to go to a football game and have to go to a porta-john to the restroom. I don't think any of you would. I think it's the most disgusting thing in the world. And I know that for women, going to a porta-john is disgusting. And going back in history of Peoria High School and Cactus, Peoria was one school in the district. They opened up and Cactus became another school. They've played each other for a long time. They played each other at Glendale Community College, and everybody used the same restrooms. They played at Peoria High School when we didn't have restrooms on the visiting side. They came to the Peoria side. Everybody used the same restrooms. They played at Cactus before, when crowds of maybe 2,000 or 3,000, and they went to the same Cactus site and used the same restrooms. And now you herd everybody in through fences, and they have to go to porta johns. And I think that is disgusting. And I'll tell you why I think it's more disgusting and why parents were upset is because when they passed the bond issue, am I right in that the Peoria area is part of the Peoria district? Don't they pay taxes in this district? They pay taxes in this district, and you expect them to pass bond issues and overrides, and they go to a public event like that, and they can't even go to the restroom that they paid for? I think it's disgusting, and I think it's a disgrace that this district lets that happen. And that's why I sent the first letter, and yet 3 weeks ago we played Cactus, and we come back and play them in the playoffs 3 weeks later, and guess what? There's the porta johns again. And that's where the parents have to go. And I took my 94-year-old mother-in-law to the game, and she had to go to a friggin' porta-john. That is disgusting. And you know what? I got one response from a board member, and it was from Monica. Nobody else has said a thing, and nobody did a thing. And the same thing occurred 3 weeks later. And I think that is poor on this district. And then you go to Peoria, and you ask them to vote for your bond issues. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to say, God, when I go to another school, I pay for this stuff, and they treat me like crap. I don't need any more minutes. I think you got my point. And if it happens again, there will be not me coming here. I will make sure that there's 400 parents here, all Peoria parents.
Superintendent Pellis Thompson, can you address that later? Not now, but I mean, can
No,
you?
thank you, Mrs. Pengarelli. I believe staff has addressed this issue.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's move on to 6.1. Or 6 would be consent agenda. Does any board member need to pull any item from the consent agenda? No. All right, then I would need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as stated.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All right, members, please cast your vote.
The voice vote, my computer decided to restart.
Kim, is that fine with you? Okay, and then we'll need a voice vote for Monica.
That's an aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0. All right, so this one was 8.1 was changed now? Okay. So it should be discussion and consideration of the e-form related to superintendent search process. Is that okay? So it's okay, Kim, that it's still labeled as 8.3? No, I'm sorry, I have still 8.1. So I'll say it's 8.1 is the discussion and consideration of the e-form related to superintendent search process. Okay, thank you. And on this particular item, our superintendent search firm does not have this format is not included in their contract. So we are discussing the type of community forum that we would like as a board. Ms. Airy has kindly come up with a, I don't know if Ms. Airy, you would like to speak to it? Thank you. And thank you very much for all of your assistance on the superintendent search firm, or search.
Mrs. Pingarelli, members of the board, thank you. Happy to speak to the recommendation to take the community forum and make it accessible by making it electronic. It's an alternative to a forum in person, but the overarching concept of the forum would be to have candidates come in studio, to have a host, to have each candidate be asked the same set of questions and rotate through with the same allotment of time given to each candidate, with that host just simply monitoring the time and moving the candidate through so we get the next one in. So candidates do not hear the answers that the candidate before them provided. Certainly at the pleasure of the board, any such forum or no forum could be part of the process as it is your process.
Okay, thank you very much. I know last superintendent search that we went through, we had it at Centennial High School, and it was the candidates were on stage and live. The difference in this one is the community would be able to not have to be at a particular place to view the candidates, and it would be up for a day and a half or so for their...
At the pleasure of the board, it could be live as long as you'd like it.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Discussion from the board. Is Mrs. Underhill?
I think it's a good idea. I've seen examples from other districts, and it seems to be a fair process and confidential. So I would say we should go forward with it.
Mr. Sandoval?
Just for clarity, this wouldn't be in lieu of a in-person community forum. It would be. Yes, it would be.
It would be. So that's it would most likely be. I mean, I guess we could do both, but that would be a little bit difficult. It would be one or the other. Like I said, there's, well, you know what, David, I'm sorry, you have the floor. I'm chiming in.
That's okay.
I apologize.
And, thank you for the additional information. But I think for me, when we take a look at, we always speak to the importance and really how invaluable it is to ensure that we have, an inclusive, really process in all that we do across all stakeholders. And as we take a look at our community, we have, there's a lot of dynamics to consider, right? And not only from a life stage regard, but cultural dynamics, et cetera. So, whenever we can, ensure, I guess, I don't want to say equal, but certainly ensure that we leverage communication channels to address the dynamics that I just went over, I think is a good thing, especially, with regard to this particular process, or as we go through this very important process of finding an individual who's going to lead and take this district, across the next 5 to 7 years. So, I mean, with regard to the face-to-face forum that we had last time, Ms. Pingarelli, how was the attendance at that forum?
Mrs. Pingarelli, Mr. Sandoval, we had roughly 75 people in attendance for that. So I believe there were some comments that it was a lower attendance than might be anticipated or expected for a community of our size.
Gotcha.
I believe there were several family members, I think, at that.
Okay.
From the candidates, too.
Yeah, I mean, like Mr. Underhill stated, I mean, I'm all for an e-form, without question. I think we're in the digital age. It's certainly relevant. As long as it doesn't, I guess, not really alienate, but doesn't give those individuals who may not be as versed with technology to, also ensure that their voice is heard as well, meaning the face-to-face interaction that we had last time. So I think e-form is great. It makes us relevant, allows us to broaden our reach, allows for more voices to be heard. So I like it. Thank you.
Ms. Stone?
I do believe there are a couple of drawbacks to the e-forum. I know we're always, let's ask the same questions of everybody, but that doesn't allow for individuality, I think. It doesn't allow for the personality to come through as well, and also not seeing them in person. I mean, okay, as a governing board, of course, we're going to interview them in person and things, but it's for the community. And I was very disappointed, though, by the attendance last time at the open forum. I'm a little torn. I'm a little torn with it because you just don't get the same feel online as you do in person. You don't. There's an impersonal feeling to any kind of interview done on the computer, basically, because there's a distance there. And we can see this in our students today because of a lot of the communication being electronic communication, and I don't feel people know each other as well that way. So that is a drawback to me, not the personal touch. But if we get more people involved, that's a pro. So I'm a little torn.
Well, President Cihar Martinez, would you like to weigh in?
I would share the sentiment of all my fellow governing board members. Ms. Stone has some valid points in regards to relationship building, especially as we move forward with technology, which would bleed into other areas of our district and online services that we offer. With the global economy, we talk about moving our district forward into an innovative space. I am definitely in a space where we communicate often, daily, if not multiple times a day, electronically, having cross-site meetings. So seeing this perspective of a superintendent engaging with a community does take a different skill set to build the relationship skills that Ms. Stone is addressing that personality, that ability to show fairness through technology. There is a way, but it's a skill. And I think that this platform will do two things. One, if a superintendent has the ability to build relationships through technology, that speaks volumes. The second piece, which we've identified, is low attendance. Our community continues to talk about access to our leadership team, and what better way than the comfort of their own home via this option. So looking at both perspectives and the situation that we're offering, to me, I would support the online option.
Mr. Sandoval?
Thank you. Do we have an opportunity to, I mean, I am skewing towards the e-form, but do we have the opportunity to still have, you know, the forum, so have a face-to-face forum with an e-component to it, right? So like a Facebook Live type event where people can actually comment as the forum is going on, or allow them to ask questions post-event.
Mrs. Pingarelli, Mr. Sandoval, I think the answer to that is yes, we could combine both. The thing that you'd need to consider is that just kind of changes the concept a little bit of the forum, so completely doable, but instead of it being more of a conversation between a host and a candidate, just the two of them on camera, which is what would take place if you did an e-forum, you get into a little bit more of like a panel style or more of like a moderated type of an event or session, which is kind of what we had last time. So you could probably design it a little bit differently, or just have them off stage somewhere else and only come out periodically, if that was more what you wanted to do. So I think there'd probably be a way. I think it would just kind of it may change the format a little bit. We would just need some clear direction from you, I think, on your expectations for that evening, or how you would want the community to be able to engage other than seeing them.
Yeah, I think for me, really, the rationale would be in and around, you know, having a process that does not impede on any individual's ability to participate, right? So as we take a look at our target audience and understanding those dynamics, I think an e-form is great, without question. Thank you.
Ms. Pingarelli, may I chime in?
Sure.
The conversation around interacting and live, we have addressed that experience with our community organization characters and groups. It doesn't reach out to everybody, but it does give that live interaction. Mr. Sandoval, your concept I did bring forward to our search form, Dr. Joel, and address that option of having that live interaction. The concern came up about risk. When you're engaging in candidates with interview processes, you want to make sure that they're each consistent. Because if biases or questions come out different for one as for another candidate, it could come back as a liability to the district. So this is one way to mitigate that risk. That's it.
I was just going to say, Mr. Sandoval had mentioned possibly that if individuals after they watched the forum had questions, that those could be, submitted and they could be taken into consideration. Now, obviously, we can't manage, 1,000 questions, but I think that after an individual, if people watched it, if they had significant questions, that, we could probably figure out a way to take that into consideration.
Missouri, logistically, how would something like that?
I mean, thank you for that. I mean, I think if we would obviously put some parameters around that, right? Maybe 24 hours it's open, or 12 hours, or whatever that is. I mean, to make it manageable.
Mrs. Pingarelli, to address that, and I hear a couple of you bringing that up, it was the recommendation of Dr. Joel, for those who are listening, is the consultant that the governing board has contracted with through this process. He has recommended following the same process with those who would be participating on those interview teams in person as those who would be watching this live piece, which actually kind of ties in what Mrs. Ceja Martinez, I believe, was touching on as well. The same feedback you'd be receiving from those teams is the feedback you'd be looking to receive from any type of forum that you did as well. So that the community would respond with strengths of this individual and any questions that you might still have that is lingering. That way you, the board, could see those questions that might still remain based on those individuals, and you could choose to take whatever action you might need to follow up on those accordingly within, the timeline and the discussions that you have together.
Yeah, I think again for me, sorry, Ms. Pingarelli, it's, like I said, I mean, we are in the digital age. I think it is a channel that does allow for broader reach and access, for this particular effort. So, certainly like the idea. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, for me, I was torn at first. I really like the live interaction, but looking further at your suggestion, and I know the last time we went for the superintendent search, it was a low turnout, and a lot were, I think, family members and stuff there. So I think to have a broader reach, I would be inclined to do the e-format, the taped. So is there any more discussion on this? Then I would need a motion and a second for whichever format you would like to make a motion to.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And I'll do my voice vote as a yes.
Oh, okay, we got it. We don't need to move.
I guess I will move to approve the e-forum as part of the superintendent interview process.
Second.
Okay. So are we doing a voice vote, or do you need? Okay, Judy, are you still?
I'm signed in.
Okay, then I guess it would be Monica. What would be your voice vote?
It seems I jumped ahead, so yes. That's
okay, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, motion passes 5-0. Ms. Erie, thank you very much.
And can I take this opportunity to slip out
Yes.
and say good night? Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much for staying and voting. All right. Next item would be 8.2, the Annual Valley Schools Trust. Ms. Myers?
Good evening, Mrs. Pingarelli, members of the governing board. Thank you for the opportunity to present information regarding Valley Schools and the district's insurance groups. I am joined this evening by Mr. Tom Elliott, CPA, Executive Director of Member Services for Valley Schools. Both Tom and I will facilitate tonight's presentation. This evening, I will provide historical information and background related to Valley Schools and the Peoria Unified School District, and Tom Elliott will provide detailed information regarding the liability insurance, workers' compensation, and benefits groups, as well as the management group in detail. At the end of the presentation, we will both be available to answer your questions. One of the 4 perspectives of the district's strategic plan is stewardship of community resources. Employee benefits, insurance, and risk management are part of this strategic perspective to solidify and adhere to effective resources, policies, and accountability for district resources. The history of the Peoria Unified School District goes back over 3 decades to 1988, when Paradise Valley Unified School District, Deer Valley Unified School District, and Peoria Unified came together to obtain property and liability insurance through a self-insured model. These 3 districts subsequently formed Valley Schools Workers' Compensation Pool in 1995 and Valley Schools Employee Benefit Trust in 2005 for medical, dental, and life insurance. This was the same year that Valley Schools Management Group was formed. The Valley Schools Groups are separate legal entities from the school districts that they support and are not combined with the school district's financial reporting. Per Arizona Revised Statutes, school district insurance pools are exempt from procurement, and in fiscal year 2017, all 4 Valley Schools Groups began the process to officially convert to Arizona not-for-profit corporations. Peoria Unified School District's governing board approved the conversion on June 8, 2017. In addition, the 3 founding districts have representation by appointing their chief financial officers to serve on the Valley Schools Management Group Board of Directors. Each year, Peoria Unified makes contribution payments to the 3 insurance groups for insurance. Each district's payments, expenses, and fund balances are tracked separately and specifically to each district that makes the payment. The Employee Benefit Group medical and related insurance annual payment amounts includes both the district's employer contribution and the estimated employee voluntary deductions that are elected during open enrollment each year. In fiscal year 2019, $1 million of net position was used to offset contributions in the Employee Benefit Group, and in fiscal year 2020, $6 million of net position has been used to reduce contributions to the Employee Benefit Group. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Tom Elliott to speak about each insurance group in detail, and after the presentation, again, we will both be available to answer your questions.
Mrs. Pingarelli, members of the board, Superintendent Alice Thompson. My name's Tom Elliott. I'm Executive Director of Member Services for Valley Schools. Thanks for having me in tonight. As I go over the slides, please do stop me anywhere you want to ask me questions. I want to start out talking a little bit about self-funding insurance. It's a decision this district made a long time ago with property and liability, and does it with workers' comp and the employee benefits group. Basically, it means that you, the employer, the district, is responsible for paying all the costs. It's less costly than getting fully insured, where you just pay the premium and the insurance company takes all the risks. Over time, it'll be less costly. You eliminate insurance company profits, you eliminate taxes and things of that nature. You'll have more control over what's done. You get to set your own plan designs on the medical insurance. You get to make all those decisions. You retain a portion of that risk, and you can see in the presentation how much for each of the categories: liability 1.5, property 100,000, workers' comp 750, and on the medical 300,000 per individual. And then insurance is purchased to cover claims costs above those levels. And again, the district's in control and is self-funding. You take the risk, but you get the benefit in the long term financially. The Valley Schools Insurance Group, Peoria, Deer Valley, and Paradise Valleys are members of this. This is the original one that was set up back in the 80s. It provides property and liability insurance coverage, losses for vehicles, buildings, equipments, and content, liability coverage for lawsuits, auto liability, errors and omissions. Valley Schools provides services, safety training, loss prevention. We do all the claims management, pay the claims. We do facility inspections, motor vehicle department record checks, several different services that we, Valley Schools, does perform. In the last year, we've greatly expanded our safety training that we provide to your employees. We kind of combine the workers' comp and the property and liability together, and department heads from the 3-member districts, like from the maintenance shop and the bus barn and what have you, and human resources, get together and kind of set their priorities on what they want for training, what the needs are for training. We arrange to have that training take place. So far, it's been very successful. these are the financial statements for the property and liability. Total contributions was 1.8 million. They show a net revenue in there because they offset that with the cost of reinsurance. I spoke of that earlier, that insurance you purchase to cover the costs above the amount of risk that you've retained. Total expenses for the year were $863,000. And you can see it's broken down by liability, auto liability, property, etc. There was investment income of approximately $205,691. The change in market value, it's a positive $175,000 as of June 30th. That's by and large a book entry. It doesn't have any meaning unless we were to choose to sell the assets on that date. But it's a book entry you have to make because the generally accepted accounting principles say you have to. So it has no meaning. We typically keep our investments to maturity, so we typically do not recognize any market gain or market loss. Began the year with a net position of $7.3 million, ended the year with a little less than $7.6 million. And again, this is in the Valley Schools Insurance Group, which is property and liability. No questions on that. I'll move on to the next. Workers' Compensation Group. Again, Peoria, Deer Valley, and Paradise Valley established this group. This year we've added Glendale Elementary School District. It provides the mandated workers' comp coverage. It insures the employees for any injuries they may have by accidents caused by the condition of their employment. And again, much of the same services that we provide in the insurance group are provided here. Safety training, claims administration, loss prevention, and things of that. And again, all these services, most of these services are handled in-house. There's certain things that we do contract to do, but most of the services for all three of our groups are handled in-house. The financials for the workers' comp group, the net revenues were $1.6 million. Total operating expenses, $1.7 million. $187,000 in interest income. Began the year with $6 million in net position and ended the year with $6,271,000 in net position. And again, I should point out that net position, part of that money, what this doesn't reflect, this financial statement doesn't reflect there's a certain amount of open claims, first of all, incurred but not reported claims that the actuaries tell us have happened, and we book a liability for that. There's also some reserves we have for claims that we know money we are going to pay. If someone was injured on the job, we're going to be paying them. We could be paying them for a lifetime possibly. So that money, there are liabilities that would go against that money. In the workers' comp for this year, I'd guess the estimate at June 30th was about $2.3 million. And in the property liability, I should have mentioned, is about 4.1. No questions on the workers' comp?
I do have a question for workers' comp. I know the board asked for a report and we received it, so I appreciate that extra information. Based on what you've provided and what you've seen, have you seen any general themes of increases or decreases in certain areas?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
So if our net position has changed from June 30th, 2019 to June 2018, have you seen any trends and why there's changes from last year to this year?
Are we talking about the change in the net position or?
Yeah.
Well, the change in the net position, basically, if you compare the revenues to the expenses were about $90,000 more, but then you have the earnings, the interest earnings, and the change in market value. I mean, that's what contributed to the net gain of $257,000 in net position in the workers' comp. And it's the same.
So let me just make sure I understand. Thank you for that. So the change in income was due to market fluctuation, not because behaviors or processes changed internally?
I only heard half of that. I'm sorry.
Could you?
I think she said the change in income was due to market factors as opposed to changes internally.
The change in net position was basically due to investment earnings and the difference between revenue and expense. There was no increase in the contributions. I'm looking for Michelle behind me. There was no increase in contributions, I don't believe, for next year. Right.
If I may.
Perfect.
Mrs. Ceja Martinez, are you referring to the Friday report where we provided workers' comp claims information over 2 fiscal years? And are you asking the question, was the change in net position related to claim improvement versus investments?
That's correct. And Ms. Underhill captured that from my understanding as well. Because what I'm trying to identify is if we, the Peoria Unified School District, is starting to change our behaviors to move the dial. But it sounds to me, because of the way the market is going, that's where the investments are coming from.
Thank you, Mrs. Pingarelli and Mrs. Ceja Martinez. That is part of it. I can also share that at our Valley Schools Management Group meetings, as well as monthly reports are shared with administration and the directors with the Valley Schools Management Group as we look at trends for districts individually compared to each other, and we can identify areas of priority and focus if there's an increase in a certain area in transportation or facilities, for example. So we're keenly aware of where there are changes, and as Mr. Elliott mentioned, those are opportunities for training as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Thank you.
Valley Schools Employee Benefits Group. Basically, Valley Schools is here to facilitate the decisions the district wants to make regarding their employee benefits. We tell you what we think. We bring the underwriter in, he tells you what he thinks, but ultimately the district gets to make its decisions. Again, Valley Schools is a nonprofit. We operate all of our programs in-house. We don't use for-profit management companies. One of the powers or benefits that we have is with our size, we get to negotiate with the providers, and that's an advantage for all of our members because we can negotiate better numbers as a group as opposed to them doing it so individually. All the members pay only their costs, and we account for that separately. So the Peoria district's not paying for the cost of any other district. It only, and that's what you see in the financial statement. All the contributions in there are from Peoria, and all the expenses are directly related to Peoria. Most of your expenses are in your claims. About 8.7% of your expenses are in admin costs. We serve approximately 24 public entities. We provide the full range of employee benefits: medical, dental, life, vision, short-term disability. We provide several different services. In the medical admin fee is the cost for the stop-loss insurance that we pay, that we purchase. United Healthcare's use of their network and claims administration. There's consulting, there's COBRA administration, flex spending. There's a whole host of services that we do provide within that medical admin fee expense. One of the programs that we've expanded recently is the wellness. Excuse me, and I know Peoria School District has taken advantage of this. It's the one area that employers can actually make a difference. The cost of your health insurance is really a function of the health of the people that we're insuring. It's really as simple as that. Recently, we've expanded our wellness to include an exercise physiologist and a registered dietitian, and these people are out as members invite us out to hold lunch and learns or whatever with employee groups. So it's been a focus we've greatly expanded the last couple of years. We'll basically do whatever we can do to assist our districts. I know, I think I brought this up last year, back in 2014, when the ACA started and 1095s had to be done, we were reasonably sure the software wouldn't be upgraded for school districts, and some weren't even aware that what they were supposed to be doing with that, and we actually contracted with a company to get that 1095 work done. So we know schools, we know what they need. My background now is 24 years in schools. As a CFO in school districts. So we kind of know, so we hopefully try and anticipate what your needs are. Next. Again, I talked about this a little bit earlier. Each of our members, and when I say a member, I mean a district employer, they determine their own medical plan designs, the copays, the max out-of-pockets, et cetera. We bring the underwriter into the room. So when we meet with the Human Resources Department, the Benefits Department, the Finance Department, we get together. The underwriter is in there, and we go step by step on exactly how they got to the premium cost. So everyone can see it, whether they like the numbers or not. They can see how they got there. And I think it's a good process. When I was first exposed to it, when I was at Paradise Valley School District and they had the underwriter in the room, for me, it was like pulling back the curtain. Because all of a sudden I was starting to see exactly how things are done. Again, as I said, each district is only responsible for its costs. Each district has the flexibility to suggest alternative funding strategies through the use of your net position. Ms. Myers talked about what you did in last year and what you also did this year, basically under-contributed because of the significant net position that you built up because you had several years of really good experience in the medical program. The financial statements, a little less than $26 million in contributions. The biggest number in the expense side is almost $21 million, $20.7 million in claims. Total expenses in there, and all the expenses are in here are for all your benefits, life insurance, short-term disability, what have you. They total about $26.5 million. Interest income earning last year was $848,000. Were you on your own, you would not be able to make that kind of interest at all. We have a very sophisticated investment program. We use Sage Financial Services out of Austin, Texas. They make the decisions. Morgan Stanley is the custodian of the investments. It's all cash flow. It's really all cash flow. And with all the contributions we have with all of our members, we can earn significantly more than districts can on their own. It's a good thing. Began the year with $19.4 million, ended the year with $20.5 million. I would expect that number, unless you have an unbelievably good year with claims, should go down next year, given you're under contributing by $6 million. So your net position should go down. It'd be great if it didn't. That would mean you had an outstanding claims year, but we'll see. Any questions on the employee benefits group?
Mr. Elliott, quick
Yes, sir.
question. So, one of the things that we've talked about really over the last couple of years is, as a district, are our benefits, are we offering world-class benefits to our associates, right? Teachers, staff, et cetera. And, ensuring that, we create this environment, of that they feel valued, with regard to what they do every day to make us look good. That said, you talked about the co-pays, and each member or district, determines, its own medical plan design. I guess my question would be, are our co-pays, are they high, are they low, are they competitive, with our associates today? And also, my second part to that question would be this: the unspent funds, at the year end, if our co-pays are a little high, for, some of our teachers and staff, can we use those dollars for the subsequent year to try to buy those down? I know there's many variables that go into determining, our cost, et cetera. But again, my challenge to the district has always been making sure that we don't become complacent with really all that we do as an organization, especially when we have an opportunity to ensure that our teachers and staff and all of our associates, are realizing world-class benefits and on top of their or to be included in their compensation models.
Okay, Ms. Pingarelli, Mr. Sandoval, members of the board. We've done a comparison. I can't off the top of my head remember how yours compare to our other members, but we do that comparison every year and benchmark it, and I think we've provided that to the district. I just can't bring it to my mind right now. Your question on if we've had a good year and there's money left over, can we look at maybe taking that max out of pocket or taking that copay down in the following year? That's kind of, that's yes. The simple answer to your question is yes. Those are things when we meet, because the underwriter, we start out costing out your plan as it lays. And then the district looks and say, what do we want to do? And all the districts do it differently. I don't know if you have a benefits committee and what have you, but they all do it differently. And so they make a decision. And it all comes down to what can you afford, unfortunately. That's what it comes down to. But yes, it's exactly what can happen. That's the nice thing about being self-funded, is you have that money available to do things with your benefit plan or whatever else you might need. And I'll step aside. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Mrs. Pingarelli, members of the board, you'll recall last February we brought our benefit recommendations forward for fiscal 2020, and our budget team is part of that discussion. And each year we see a report with our claims experience, and then we have a renewal meeting. Our renewal meeting with Valley Schools is set for this January. There are opportunities to adjust the employer and the employee paid portion each year. Net position is one pathway to reduce or modify employee contributions. One thing that we're doing as well is with phase 1 of the compensation study last year, is part of looking at salaries and calendars and starting salary amounts. We also did a quick snapshot compared to sister districts on what the employee and employer paid portions were by district, and that was included in the report that you received as part of phase 2. In fact, tonight under our consent agenda, we asked for approval to do an RFP for compensation consulting. And with that work that we'll do with a third party that will be responding and awarded as part of our RFP, we'll be looking at several things, including job descriptions and updating those job descriptions, our salary schedule mix from a Prop 206 impact perspective, but also benefit mix, where we're actually going to compare and look at Peoria Unified, not only compared to those sister districts that we looked at last time, but other like entities, to look at the mix and to better capitalize on opportunities to enhance benefits as part of the compensation package. So that's something that's top of mind. Dr. Davidson and I are working on that. Typically, that type of review and work would span 2 years and would bear fruit most likely in fiscal 21-22.
Perfect. No, thank you for that. And that's definitely appreciated that you're taking such a deep dive into ensuring, that our associates are taken care of. And also thank you for, acknowledging that there is a benefit to comparing, our district with other like districts or entities. But, also taking a look at how we can, really compete against ourselves to make sure that, we're always continuously improving on a daily basis. So thank you for that, Michelle.
Thank you.
Underhill?
Yeah, Mr. Elliott, I just had a question. I had attended this meeting last year before being on the board, and I remember having discussion about how I just was curious, is it every year that you look at comparative rates of other providers to be able to make sure that we're getting the best rate, and the best bang for our buck in regard, like?
It depends on the product, but let's talk about the medical number, because that's the big number. No, do we shop it every year? No, not at all.
Okay.
What we do is we do periodic studies. What you pay for is claims. So about over 91% of your cost is claims. So the question is, are the claims more expensive than if with one company, UHC versus Blue Cross versus Aetna, et cetera? Yeah. We look at that periodically. It's not an easy thing to measure at all. Mm-hmm. It's not something you could bid out and someone could tell you what your claims costs are going to be, because they're constantly negotiating networks. So we commission studies. We've used consulting firms to look at discount analysis. We've done most recently, we did a total cost of care study to see, are we competitive? It's, believe me, not an exact science, but that's what we do. We feel that we have a good relationship with United Healthcare. What we do is we negotiate that contract every single year. Every single year.
Okay.
And when I was in school districts, I don't know how Peoria does it, but when I was in school districts, we would bid the medical insurance, and it pretty much would have it's a 1 year and could be extended an additional year up to 4 times. And not a lot was done with it after that. And sometimes those bids had maybe maximum rate increases for the first year, the second year, different things. But we're much more active in what we do. That's why we've been able to keep our administrative costs down, because in the medical industry, everything's changing so rapidly. You really need to be in there negotiating and talking with them every single year. So do we shop it among the carriers every year? No.
Okay.
We do comparisons to try and make sure that, conducted by independent people outside of firms that we hired that do that. We want to make sure that the cost in UHC is a competitive cost, and we just negotiate with them each year.
Okay, no, that's great. I'm just glad to hear that it's actively looked at, and I get it. I
All the time. Met with
very
them yesterday,
complicated.
actually,
Great.
for that exact purpose.
That's great. And just kind of related to that, and this might be more for Ms. Myers, and I should know this because I've seen our employee surveys, but do we ask a question about satisfaction with health benefits, et cetera, or a provider each year, so that we're, it's great if the cost is good. It's another thing if you file a claim and you're, sent to collections because, whatever. But do we ask about that?
Thank you, Mrs. Pingarelli, Mrs. Underhill. We have talked about mechanisms to reach out to our employees to have input on what's important to them from a benefit mix perspective. One employee might value eye vision coverage more than another. So that's something we're talking about, because benefits is an important part of the compensation package as a whole. And that employer contribution is part of an employee's salary each year in combination with actual hourly or annual wages. So we are looking at mechanisms, again, with that compensation consulting arrangements. We're hoping to be able to capture that data to better adjust not only the types of plans we're offering, but also the co-pay, dependent coverage, et cetera. And as Mr. Elliott mentioned, Valley Schools advises, but the districts decide. And so we're really embracing that, saying, okay, how can we within our Valley Schools structure modify things to capitalize on the opportunities that we're providing to our employees from a benefit and a compensation perspective?
Thank you.
Mr. Elliott.
I just want to add.
Go ahead, Monica.
Just to Ms. Underhill's question or statement, when we took a look at these plans going forward and looking at plan utilization, I would like to see if there are any services that we're not using that we can consider removing and using those assets to another part of the plan, or to decrease the premiums that our staff are paying.
Mrs. Pingarelli, Mrs. Ahar Martinez, we are planning to do that. And in fact, with the renewal in January, we've already had discussions to look at the 2 high deductible plans to see if there are opportunities. And then again, with the actual consulting that we'll be engaging, we'll have a more focused approach for the next fiscal year.
Thank you.
Mr. Sandoval, you have another question?
I do, thank you. So, Mr. Elliott, you mentioned that when Ms. Underhill asked about, your process on an annual basis and, and negotiations with, in this case, United Health, but you mentioned that you really don't look at other carriers. Why is that? Because for me, when we take a look at this particular benefit, for our team, at the end of the day, we're talking about improving the quality of life of people and our associates. So if another carrier does result in, lower co-pays or, more robust benefits, I think we should consider that.
But, excuse me, Ms. Pingarelli, Mr. Sandoval, members of the board, the UHC doesn't make the decision on the copay. The district is really the insurer, for lack of a better description. The Peoria School District says the copay for your doctor visit will be $25. That's a decision. It's not a decision UHC makes. UHC processes claims. So we rent their network. So, and they have a national network as robust as any of the Blue Cross, Aetna, Cigna. I mean, they're a very competitive network. And so it's up to the district, they make the decision on those copays. So it's really, how much does it cost to see this doctor in the UHC network versus the Blue Cross network versus Aetna versus Cigna? And as I said, we look periodically. The last one we did was, I think it was 2 years ago. But we do it periodically to look. We use a consulting firm to go out, and last time it was a total cost of care comparison to say, is it cheaper to be with Blue Cross versus Aetna versus UHC? So that's what we do. You couldn't bid it out and get a quote, hey, your premiums are this. You're still always going to pay whatever your claims are. You're going to pay. So the district sets the copay. The district sets the max out of pocket.
It does. So,
yeah.
Ms. Meyer, when we take a look at the copay, what variables are we considering to determine which copay to go with?
Thank you, Mrs. Pingarelli, members of the board, Mr. Sandoval. That will be part of the evaluation process. We're going to identify to see where we have opportunities to make adjustments. And we believe that will bear fruit. We'll do the examination, and then we can make recommendations for modifications. Historically, we brought those types of recommendations to the budget team, and then subsequently that comes forward to the governing board for approval. So again, opportunities in copay or employer portion, employee portion of the payment, that's where we're going to look at that mix, and we'll compare opportunities that we have as Peoria Unified compared to like employers, other school districts, as well as some local municipalities.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pingarelli.
If I could just follow up to you, this is a little bit my own personal opinion here, but I'm going to say it anyways. Your question, Ms. Underhill's question on employee satisfaction with the plan. I haven't seen anyone that's satisfied with medical insurance. I've not seen it anywhere. I don't think we're going to see it. The average person has no chance in the system, none. Forgive me, that's my feeling. So if you got a really robust positive, that'd be great. I'm not sure I'd count on it. In recognition of that, there are some things we're doing. We're looking at some alternative care where they're not going to go to a network doctor, but for certain autoimmune conditions, and this is in process, that your employees are going to be able to, we're going to reach out to them and say, hey, we have an alternative. We're just test driving this with a half a dozen or so autoimmune conditions to see if not only can we bring the cost down, we're going to make people's lives better for these diseases. Hope, that's a good thing. We're looking at early discussion about a service that helps people make decisions about their helps them when they're trying to decide which benefit plan to on. If they have a dispute with UHC, something to walk them through the system to help them. We're in early looking at this, but it's to help the person do it. So it's another thing we're looking to do. I think we're just about to sign a contract for second surgical opinions. And we've been looking at this one for a while. So that the employee will be able to simply contact the company and say, they've said I need this. After that, the company reaches out to the doctor, gets all the records. Very high-level expert people and their stable of experts look at this, and they're salesmen, so I get it. But they've reported to us as, hey, sometimes we look and, yeah, the diagnosis is right, but the treatment's not quite right. And sometimes the diagnosis is wrong. it's going to give that person who's looking at maybe something not really pleasant a little peace of mind and being able to talk to somebody else without a cost to them. So we're looking at, so nobody's happy with the medical insurance, I don't think, but we're trying to look and do things to make things better for people. So I'll be quiet now. Is there any more on the employee benefits group? Oh. A little comparison of your per member per month costs. Your costs last year versus the prior year went up a little bit, only about $11. And you can see, compared to PV and Deer Valley, also compared to the average for Valley schools, your per member per month cost is less than those two districts and the Valley schools average. And when we say per member per month, that's per belly button. So it's an employee, it's their child if the child's on the plan. Your medical insurance increased this year about 4.2%, but the average annual increase over the last 5 years is less than 1%. You ran about 4 years with a zero. You ran some great years. Things go up and down. Overall, Valley Schools average increase over the last 5 years was 3.5% for all of our members combined. There's some numbers. This is the management group financials. The management group, and Ms. Myers serves on that board, basically runs the property and liability, the workers' comp, and the employee benefits group. And this is their financial statement. You can see the revenues, about $6.2 million. Those revenues are the contributions from member districts to Valley Schools to provide the services. And you can see what was spent. You can see the majority of that is in salary and benefits, almost more than half, almost $4 million out of the $6.2 million that was spent. Accounting and auditing, insurance premium, office expenses to keep the lights on. Consultant service fees is a big number. You heard us talk about underwriters. We use underwriters, actuaries, a lot of different people that we use. Basically broke even last year. Total revenue 6.2, total expenses a little more, 6,230,000. Earned a little bit of investment earnings.
Oh, Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
So for the consultant service fees, you had budgeted at $807,000, and it was over 158,000.
Yes, that's correct. I couldn't tell you why that is.
Okay.
I can't bring it to mind why we spent more than we budgeted.
Okay.
If I sat here long enough, I might be able to, but sorry.
All right, thank you.
I don't keep the books, unfortunately. Any other questions on that or anything else?
Mrs. Cejar Martinez, do you have any further questions?
I am good. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Senator Hill? I believe we're set.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to 8.3, first reading and discussion pertaining to proposed revision to Governing Board Policy A, District Vision, Mission, and Value Statements. Mr. Gay, welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Pingrelli, members of the board, Superintendent Powles Thompson, and guests and staff. We, many months ago, in January of this year, at your annual board retreat, we had a discussion about our current board policy A, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And the board made several suggestions and gave some direction for changes to parts of that policy. And so tonight we're here to take a look at the results of all that work and the intervening discussions and stakeholder input and so forth that we've had. And so I'd like to share that with you this evening. For guests and people that may not know this, Board Policy A is the very first policy in the very first section of the policy manual. Section A is called Foundations and Basic Commitments, and it kind of sets the tone and sets the direction for the entire district. And specifically, it sets the legal and intentional foundations for the district, as well as everything that follows in the rest of the policy manual. And so policy A is the board statement of its vision, its mission, and its values. We did a fair amount of research looking at other districts in Arizona, and most districts, as you know, use the Arizona School Board Association's model policy manual. But it turns out that districts are kind of all over the place in terms of how they format and structure this particular policy. Some, in fact, include strategic goals in theirs. Our current policy also has strategic goals in it. One of the decisions or directions that the board gave us as we discussed it back in January was that probably shouldn't do that in that policy because strategic goals change every year. And so you'll see as we go through that we've eliminated those in this particular revision. A little bit about how we got to where we are. As I said, we had that board retreat back in January, and we talked about that as well as many other things. We turned some of the direction that the board gave us and feedback over to our strategic planning committee. One of the items of feedback from the board was that we wanted to keep the vision the same. So every student, every day, prepared to shape tomorrow. That was to say the same. However, the board was interested in changes to the mission and values. And so taking that direction and some of the other feedback, the Strategic Planning Committee drafted up a new version of the policy. We also did something I thought was very interesting. In April of 2019, our HR staff issued a survey to staff. And in that survey, they asked for suggestions and ideas about what our values should be. And as it turned out, we had 371 staff responses, and the most popular value statements or value items in the response, interestingly enough, lined up just about perfectly with what the Strategic Planning Committee had suggested from the work that we had done as well. So we got some very good assurance, if you will, or affirmation from that survey. Just recently, in fact, at the last board meeting during the study session, staff presented the contents, not the policy itself, but the contents of the revised mission and values during that study session. And we got some additional feedback from the board, as well as from a group of high school students that had been invited to the study session, and they gave us some great feedback as well. We took that back, did some revisions, brought it back to cabinet for a final look, and that is what we have today. So we'd like to show you the board policy, and Gary, if you want to bring that up. As we always do, I just wanted to make a little point this time. We always show a red line version when we change a policy. In this particular case, the only thing that's staying the same is the vision. So it's a lot of red lines in the policy. So the reason I'm bringing that up, we'll use this to go over it very quickly, but I also provided in the board docs a version in which the changes have been accepted, so you don't see all the red lines, but I wanted to make sure we had the red line version here so that you could see very clearly what had been changed. So as I said, the vision statement remains the same. We've replaced the mission statement, as you can see, with the paragraph right here. I'm just going to read the paragraph, but not all the bullets go along with it. Peoria Unified School District prepares every student for a successful future as a responsible citizen who actively contributes to society, the community, and the workforce. And then there are some accompanying bullets that basically says this is how we achieve this mission. I won't read all those, but essentially this follows the direction that the board gave us back in January to try to structure our mission statement around the 4 strategic perspectives that form the framework for our strategic plan. And so you'll see that in there. Then moving down to the values, again, all the existing values are being replaced, and as well as the goals are being taken out and replaced with this particular paragraph and bullets, and I just want to go over that quickly. The values of the Peoria Unified School District are grounded in our focus on people, students, staff, parents, and community members. These values shape behavior and drive us to achieve our shared vision and mission. And I won't read all these bullets, but I will kind of list them out. The 4 values that are in this revision are integrity, collaboration, excellence, and equity. At the study session, it was brought up the idea of what order are they in? And they are not necessarily in any particular order, although we recognize that people read them in this order. And so we followed the suggestion that was made to put integrity first, and then with the idea that all these other values sort of follow out from the intent of the word integrity. And so that is the revision to Board Policy A. And as a first read, I can stand for questions or any other discussion you'd like to have.
Mr. Sandoval?
Yeah, once again, thank you, for the time that you put into this and just being very intentional about the process. Doing what I do from a career perspective, it does take a little bit to really take a step back and understand your core essence, as an organization, and to bring that forth verbally in a way that aligns well with that. But no, I'm excited about this shift. I think it's also a great segue into, I think it was our last board meeting where I wanted to explore the opportunity to even change the name of the district office. So I think the information that was realized through this process, will help us, through that process as well. So thank you.
Mrs. Underhill?
I do appreciate you showing us the red line version. At first I was like, why are they doing that? But it really does show that we're moving, we're moving in a new direction, and I think that's exciting and encouraging. And I really do appreciate, I can see the feedback from the students and from the board that you gathered, and I can see that in there. So thank you for doing that and for all your work.
Presidency, Howard Martinez, are you still on the phone?
I am. Thank you so much. Mr. Gay, you have done a tremendous job leading these efforts. Receiving the feedback from the governing board, our community, our staff, and the center of all this, which is our students, and really driving a feed-forward approach. At this time, this is a great basis, and to be a part of this conversation that we are driving, molding the vision of Peoria as a unified leadership team and community. If the board continues to move forward with this recommendation, this is a great foundation as we continue to discuss board goals aligned to this vision now that we've refined it and our strategic plan. Both hand in hand will drive that conversation. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sierra Martinez.
I have no questions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And your team. Let's move on to 9.1, Budget Facilities Planning and Construction Report. And that can be found online. Thank you very much. 9.2, District Budget Report for the month of September 2019. And that also can be found online. Thank you. Next one is Report on Upcoming Meetings and Events. I believe Miss Airy had a comment potentially? No? Okay, I hear her. No, she does not. She's shaking her head no. Well, thank you very much. Next one is...
Ms. Pingerelli?
Yes. Go ahead.
I do want to add, it's not on this, but we do have an agenda scheduled for December 16th. It is not on here. It's a special board meeting.
There is one for... The 16th is on Governing Board Executive Session.
And then a potential special board meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, following the executive.
Okay, thank you very much. Just wanted to get that clarity.
Thank you. 9.4 legislative updates. Ms. Myers?
Good evening again, Mrs. Pingarelli, members of the board, Mrs. Pallas Thompson. The 55th legislative session will be starting in January of 2020. It's just right around the corner. And it has been reported that the legislature would like to accelerate the budget timeline this year, and both the House and the Senate have had initial meetings to identify member priorities, especially related to the reported $694 million surplus that the state has. Most members agree on the need to invest more in K-12 education. The exact amount, it will not be known until the fiscal year 2021 budgets are released in the new year. The consideration for fiscal year 2021 budget is House Bill 2757, which was signed into law on May 31st, 2019 by Governor Ducey, adopting economic nexus standards for internet sales made in Arizona, also known as the Wayfair case. This new law will allow Arizona to require out-of-state online businesses without a physical presence in the state of Arizona to collect and remit sales tax on sales transactions in Arizona, and this will result in additional revenue for the state. So that's a good thing. In advance of the legislative session, the Joint Legislative Budget Committee recently reported that Arizona ranks 4th in economic momentum nationally. Apparently, the rest of the nation also believes this is true because the American Enterprise Institute recently ranked Arizona as the #1 inbound state in the nation for people moving to a new state. That
That's
concludes
great.
my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's good news. All right, let's move on to 10.1, board member opportunity to readdress agenda items. Does anybody need to go back? No, okay, that's good. Say 10.2, draft agenda for December 12th, 2019 board meeting. And I'm sure there will be more added to that soon. Thank you. 10.3, request for agenda items for future governing board meeting. Mrs. Underhill? Mr. Sandoval?
Yes, thank you. So I know we tabled the liquidated damages discussion maybe a couple months ago because I was absent, but
yes,
I would love to make sure that we get that back on a agenda in the near future to stay in front of, any HR contracts, et cetera. If we could, please.
President Sehar Martinez? I take that as she has nothing, or she's not there.
I apologize. I was on mute.
Did you have any?
Apparently, that's the only way you can silence me. So, Mr. Sandoval, yes, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We will go ahead and follow up with Dr. Davidson to bring that back since it's already been first and seconded. Ms. Pengarelli and I will follow up with that.
Mrs. Underhill?
In regards to future request items, I would like the board to revisit reconvening the bond and override committee.
I'll second that.
And that's all I have.
Okay, I do not have anything for this evening. Okay, last agenda item is adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
I will second that one. Okay. Yes. I did vote just now. Okay, I'm sorry. We can't go home vote, and President Sehar Martinez, do you agree, or I guess we have a majority here?
Yes, that is aye.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to just vote him aye.
Thank you very much. we'll see you here in 3 weeks.